So welcome back everyone to the new Seller Accelerator program. So this is actually week 7. If you have been part with us, today is the week 7 of the new Seller Accelerator program. So thanks for joining. For those of you who sign up from other channel that I share, it's today's topic is regarding listing optimizations, right? It's also relevant to you as well on how you can take note of some of the tips that I'm sharing here to optimize your listings. And then also at the end, I'll be sharing some communication channel that you can reach out as well. All right, without any delay, I'm going to head on to today's topic. All right, some important notice for you to take a quick read. Well, if you are new, just so you know, you can subscribe to our official YouTube playlist, right? And then I'll be sharing all the recording there. And then for the seller who are enrolled into the new Seller Accelerator program, you also be part of the exclusive playlist as well that will be shared to you over the email. So if you have any question, let me know in the question box. It's typically featured at the right-hand side. And then I do receive quite a couple of what do you call that, questions from you guys before that. I will address it at the end as well. So do stay with us to the end. If not, you can put in the question box. Last but not least, all the information sharing today is up to date as of now. So if you happen to watch the recording down the road, or if there's anything regarding policy, etc., please try to always refer to the online resources so that you get the most updated information. Right, this is what we'll be covering today. Just an overview of what are the entry point to your listings. And then, of course, with those, you can get an idea on what are the listing elements that you can optimize further. And last, we'll end with the Q&A. Right, so you can see this is a typical page that I'm pretty sure most of you would be aware of if you shop on Amazon.com. So you can see there are several elements involved on how the customers actually browse around Amazon website when they are shopping. You can see, first of all, when your customer and or even yourself, when you reach, you typically look at the search bar, right, to find for the things that you want to. So again, the search term is very critical in your listings. Right now, secondly, is the browse node is typically like the product category. Um, and then there are things like your main image, right? And then your title, as well as the other info sharing here, like your sponsor brands, sponsor display, or even coupons and deals. I'll keep this in mind, right? So typically, how can you increase the traffic to your listings? Now, organically, as I mentioned, the consumer, the customers will go to the shopping result page, right? After they search for something, after you search for something. Right, and then from then on, you will actually click on to look at the detail page, right? So ideally, the very first at the result page, there must be something that caught your attention or your customer attention before they even want to dive into the detail page to look at what is it. Right. So how to get more impression? You can optimize in terms of the keywords. Right. If nodes is just basically talking about a browse node. Right. Depending on the product category that you are selling in, you will have different attributes or different what should I call it, fields that you need to fill in. Right. Do always remember to fill up those information, even though it might be optional when you're doing your listings, right? Because that may help as customer tend to do filtering to narrow down for the things they want to buy. Right, the next one will be probably ads, right? Now with that, once you get more impressions, there are the other things that you can further work on to get more views, all right, more detailed page views, meaning that people actually click on to your product from the search results to look at things like your pricing, logistic information, like do you do FBA or do you actually ship it yourself, and then more reviews. So this is largely impacted by the title and the main image, right? Because these are the two main things that is usually right in the face when customers are searching for products. As you go on, you'll notice that having a good ranking, recommendations from Amazon, depending on your sales, the reviews, rating, and those batch like running any deals, etc., will help to create a cycle of getting more conversion and more sales, right? But ultimately, point one and two is something you need to focus more on. So here we are on the title, listing title, right? So this is definitely one or two of the main things that you see, even as a customer yourself, that you tend to watch out for when you look for something, when you're buying, when you're shopping online, right? All right. So some recommendation word, or rather recommendation of what is considered a good title. You should ideally consist of these things, right? One to three keywords of the product you're selling and the unique selling point, and easy to read and understand. Right, examples are here. Right, if you have a brand name, you should actually include your brand name. All right, but some of the time your brand name may not be appear because I know that sometimes Amazon might did some optimization as well. So I do see that sometimes brand name may not be necessary, right? But as a guidance, right, you should always include your brand name and then include your most important keyword and then your characteristics, right? Plus, other information that you think is a key selling point for your product. So there's an example here that you can see, right? So these are the key points, right, that I want to re-highlight again. Make sure you don't have any grammar error, etc., your spellings, right? So this can be easily done if you are using spelling checker, or right now a lot of the what they call like ChatGPT and stuff. You can just use that to help you to create a good listing title. And in fact, Amazon listing itself, we do have AI feature as well. If you create a listing recently, you should be able to see there's a AI feature to help you create a good draft of an initial listing information. So you could also use that as well. Right, this is what I think is very important as a summary on the different areas that you should do and you should not do. Right, I won't touch on too much on this. You can actually read it through. Right. So take note that you're not allowed to use this kind of keyword in the title typically. All right, so if you find that your listing, if you get flagged out, you should check your title. Does it consist, this kind of words? All right, these are the words that is actually not allowed because it's not compliant to the product title requirements. Right, next is the main image. Right, so you can see this is very, very important as well. It is the most, I would say, intuitive things that you will see when you are shopping or when a customer is looking for your product. Right. So all your, I would say, most of the clicks will definitely comes from having a good product image, right? It increases the click-through rate, right? So it's very important that you have a very good and clear high definition quality of the image. Some tips here, try to use the shadow and reflection wisely, make it look more natural and realistic. And if you are selling into this kind of category like furniture, there are some tips as well. All right. As for jewelry, if you're in this category, try to use an angle that highlights your product selling point. Right. For jewelry, you might not be able to use models in the main image of the jewelry product, but you can use it in the alternate image. And some other tips as well if you're selling into the apparel category, right? And you want to take note of the styles, aesthetic of different countries that might have different cultural preference, right? And then if you are selling shoes, this is some tips as well for you to take note of. So another key I would say important feature is actually the alternate image. So you can put a total of, if I remember correctly, 9 images with one main image, right? So you have the option to put up to 8 different alternate images on top of your main image, right? So the alternate images is something that you can be more creative, right? It doesn't need to be a full white background. You can see some of these examples over here. It might not be the language of the like English, all right? We took it from some of our Japanese site, right? But the idea is there. Some suggestions we have regarding creating alternate images. You can consider the following 4 points that we share, right? When you are trying to create your alternate image for your listings. Right? What kind of the customer portrait, the brand style you're trying to positions, right? The color scheme and also the image font that you're going to use. Right. Now, of course, if you're just starting out, you don't have to go into too deep. You can just try to create something more basic first before you go into, optimizing it further down with all these things that we share here. But at the very least, you should have your own alternative images at the start. Right, some examples over here that you can see, right? Using scenes or make it more relatable, in terms of where your products can be used. Similarly, if you're selling products that you can use at home, put it in such a way that the possible situation that your product can be used in the settings. Right? So always portray the most accurate depiction of your image, all right? Especially colors, right? You can do some slight editing using like tools like, Photoshop, Canva, all this, but do not try to edit too much that it doesn't look like your actual products. All right. So if what you're selling is something more, I would say smaller product, things like a necklace or things that have a very unique design that can only be seen on closer look. So you might want to have good close-up look for your customers, right? This helps to give them a better idea of your product, since they are not able to really touch your product. So the image is very critical for them to decide, right? Some other styles that you can consider, right? That we think it's a good way to portray your products. Right. So the third one is something that I see a lot of the good listing actually try to use. You don't have to create a single like a situation or scenario for your product per image. You can combine it in something like that in a multiple forms in a single image. So you can actually provide and put more information to showcase your product. So another thing to take note of is the seasons. So unlike in Southeast Asia, like, typically where we are located in, there's only like one season throughout the year. So we may not actually think about this, but you might want to think about this when you are selling into the US due to the different seasons there, right? It will make a difference in terms of the customers who might be looking for your products, right? Because the customer there might be searching for certain terms, having this different look and feel will actually entice them to look at your product at least. Give them more reasons to actually visualize how your product can be used in the different season, different settings. So not just for seasons that they have, right? Other things will be like the events, or rather the different festivals that they have over there, Halloween or even like Mother's Day, etc. Right? That's something you want to always keep in mind. So just to resurface this image again, I think I showed in the previous webinar. So you can see how the having a good image and having the alternate image actually helps to boost your order conversion as well as your organic traffic. The next one I want to go on is, as you further down on your product listing, another part you should focus is the bullet point. So the bullet point should ideally convey the most important product feature of your product, right? Some examples or tips over here that you can use. Again, this is a table for your reference on how you want to structure your bullet points. Alright. So a very short example of the vacuum cleaner. All right. So you can also take note from the reviews, all right, to look at what are the characteristic that customer actually care about, and then use that to form up your unique selling point on your product, on your listing bullet points. All right. So some popular phrase that we see that is mentioned in bullet points are things like the seasons, the holiday, or even describing where the product can be used and the materials. Right. These are the things that customers are more concerned about when they want to buy something. They will actually look through and see if that is something that they need. Okay, so last part is also what are the do's and don'ts when you're optimizing your bullet points. Right. You can use up to 5 bullet points, and I would strongly suggest you to use all. Right. And then some other suggestions I would give is that you do not have to start from scratch. You can get ideas from maybe your competitor products, right, to look at how they actually leverage or put their bullet points if you think it makes sense. All right. And then if let's say your product has no competing product, then that's even better, right? Meaning that you might be selling into a niche. And then some of the tools I can really recommend you can use AI tools to help you generate these, and then of course read through it and adapt it to what your product is, right? Do not use whatever generated for use blindly, right? Make sure that you adapt it from those tools that you can, and then use it into your listings wisely. Now again, back to I think I covered on the previous point regarding A plus content. That is something that you should also focus on if you are a brand owner and then you are able to use the A plus content. Right, that would actually help as well. It gives a more visually appealing listings to your product. All right, almost to the end. So I'm going to share the resources that we have from the Seller University. Right, you can do a quick scan or you can rewatch the recording to scan the QR code. This is also in the Seller University, which is part of the Seller Central. You can search for these guides inside as well in your seller's selling account.